in a sort of a business development role. And I went at it like a freight train, just trying to hit all my numbers, achieve, surpass expectations, earn as much as possible. And I remember some of the older heads pulled me aside to Terry, we like you, you're a good young lad. Stop doing so well because you're going to put more pressure on us. They're going to expect all of us to do this. And it's like Fabrizio sets this standard of reporting where most journalists are like, no, I need to go sleep. I need to, do you know what I mean? Maybe when he's married and has children, he'll slow down a little bit. But
I'm wondering that. Yeah. Or it'll be a football agent by then. Surely he just becomes an agent and he just puts his feet up at some point. But it's been a mad one though.
It has been crazy, and we've got lots to delve into today. The first deal I wanted to touch on was Amrabat to Man United. It's a deal, interestingly, that a lot of the United press the other day, the Samuel Luckhurst, was saying it's very unlikely to be Amrabat. Fabrizio has always remained very strong on the fact that he's the number one target as soon as there's another exit. Some exits are pretty much on their way, and yesterday him and Ornstein kind of put out the tweets around negotiations. It does feel now like that deal is very likely to happen and complete soon. What's your understanding about the? I mean, there isn't much time scale left, but is that a deal you see now getting over the line for Man United?
Well, I think this is the difference. I think a bid is realistic. Is a deal realistic? I think that's what's. I think there's a difference there. Are Man United going to put forward a serious offer? Because if they come forward and offer like £8 million for Amrabat, I've just pulled that number out of nowhere. But if it's a derisory bid, which isn't inconceivable. It's not going to happen. They've got to show that they're serious here. And obviously the last quote put out was 21 million. I think it's about 28 to 30 earlier on in the window. But they have to go in serious. There's no time to mess about with this. If they actually want Amrabat, it's time to get it done. The player himself has been assured throughout this window that he was fine to take the stance that he has, which has been quite aggressive, really, in terms of sitting out training and just not getting involved in Fiorentina's season. Because it was don't worry, Man United are coming. He kept being assured that it was okay to act the way that he was acting. Obviously, he starts to get a bit nervous when you're in the final week of a transfer window. It was interesting, the links with Nottingham Forest the other day. I don't know if you saw that they were linked with Amrabat. I'm like, why would Forest suddenly be linked with Amrabat? How does that make any sense? I'm told that that was kind of a play, it was to generate interest, to panic Man United a little bit. It was never going to happen, but Forest basically offered Amrabat as part of the long game. And Forest, to be fair, are making very good plans and headway themselves in other areas. But I think that this just needs to get moving. When there was that loan offer there put out about, Man United will pay 1 million now, 1 million later, spread out the cost of this 2 million loan. It's genuine. I think I tweeted this is up there as embarrassing as when Arsenal offered 40 million plus £1 for Luis Suarez.
Do you know what's interesting? I did a stream on Tuesday and I lost my head really. I'd actually had a bad day off camera, and got frustrated at the conversations because I hold Ten Hag responsible for the players he identifies, and between him and his team they choose to bring in. If Anthony doesn't end up working, I will hold Ten Hag accountable. What I won't hold Ten Hag solely accountable for is the fact we could have signed Anthony a month earlier for 65 million euros, but we ended up paying 95 million euros.
Yeah.
What I won't hold the manager accountable is the fact that the board they're either not allowing more money to come out, which is what I believe to be the case, or they genuinely have run the club so far into the ground financially that we do have FFP problems and there literally isn't the money to help the manager continue to complete his rebuild. And there's a lot of talk that goes around that Man United, since Ten Hag's been here, has spent exponentially more than other people. And the media kind of paints that picture. But then I went and looked this morning and I did a little bit of research, took me 10 minutes. So since he's been the manager of Man United, he has spent, this is in euros because the transfermarket.co.uk work in euros and they don't include add-ons either. That's why they're the best website, because including add-ons that haven't been paid yet is really weird for me because a lot of them are dependent on winning trophies. So they haven't been paid yet. So since he's been at Man United, he has spent 427 million euros, which is a lot of money. But in that same time period, West Ham has spent 380, City 380 plus what they're now going to spend on Mateus.
Yeah.
Newcastle has spent 340, Arsenal has spent 334, and Chelsea have spent just over €1 billion. Right. So I look at it and think, I'm not suggesting that Ten Hag's had no money, but this weird sort of notion that he's had loads of money to spend and he should have caught everybody else up's crazy. So when you consider that when he took over, it was our worst period in 40 years, people last year were predicting us to come 7th and 8th and mid-table. Yes, he spent a lot of money, but it isn't exponentially more than what everybody else is spending. So this weird notion that, well, he had 400 million to spend, therefore he must be at the top of the table. But everybody else that was ahead of him prior to that has spent very similar amounts of money. And this is where I look at the club as being a problem. We need to keep spending to catch up and then keep spending to maintain hopefully the high level we get to. Yeah. And this is where Man United's board continually let owners down, managers down. They did it to LVG, they did it to Jose in the end. They don't continue the spending that the other big clubs across Europe do to maintain it. Look at City, they win a treble and they've dropped another massive summer on new players because they know they have to. If they let 3 or 4 leave and replaced it with average players or just said, no, use the academy, there'd be a drop-off of a certain amount. And look, I'm happy that Amrabat should now be coming. I hope he comes. But the execution you're spot on about has been nothing short of embarrassing by the football club again. It really, really has been. And, we started the summer quite well. This player, as you said, this player has turned down approaches. The media have told us Napoli, Bayern Munich, Liverpool, all inquired. He said no to them all. He's a fraction of the price of Mason Mount. I think he's a better footballer than Mason Mount personally. The order of which we've done things has been crazy. And I'm hoping, again, I'm hopeful it gets done. But the execution has been mad.
I just had a message, by the way, on Amrabat, just saying that there is still the possibility of a loan with obligation, but it would have to be more than the 2 million. I think they want closer to 5 million for the loan, and then the obligation, I think it ends up being about 22, like has been mentioned. So might be something to look out for, but that probably does help Man United too, if that can be the conditions on which Amrabat is landed with an initial loan that turns into a transfer. That would fit in with the financing that we're hearing about.
Yeah, no, I agree. It'd be very good. Again, if we could do that, if it helps. Listen, I just want the man in.
You don't care what it costs at this point.
I want him in because I do. I said it yesterday. Amrabat will be a game changer for Man United's midfield. It gives us cover for Cass. Certain games, like I'd love him in today. I'd love it over the line today. But by tomorrow, so that he could play against Arsenal. I'd love him to be able to play in that game because you could put Amrabat next to Casemiro. It makes me confident going away home against these bigger teams because you're not running through that midfield, in my opinion. You're just not. Yeah. Whether he's fit enough to play this weekend is a different question, but it gives us something different. Plus, we need more size and power. So many of our players, I looked at the average, like so many players under 6 foot, so many players that weigh below 65 kilos. We need players in there that are 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", strong, and technically gifted. We need a mixture. So, I'm happy with that.